Unfortunately, the last time I was reading to you, we got cut off just at the end, and it was kind of a bummer. And so I want to read the last part about Principal Davies and his punishment. It was just part 3 I think I was missing, so I'll read 2 and 3. Point 2. We are investigating various methods, all of which have been approved at the state level. Now this was about corporal punishment, which is the ability for a school to hit children. Bear in mind that there must be a purpose to any punishment. If we strike out in anger, we are teaching the students to strike out in anger. Oh, well, good. I'm glad there's limits to when you can strike people. So speaking of that, and having read Davies' ominous message, I wonder what Martin's punishment is going to be. And so what will Martin's punishment be? Make a little prediction right now. And then I want you to think about it. Do you agree with it? How would you convince Martin not to say those horrible things to people? Let's see. Current methods. We didn't go far. The small room at the end of the hall, past the principal's office, was amazingly ordinary. It looked like it might have been a storage area at one time. A single chair in the middle of the floor faced a pull-down movie screen on the left wall. The window opposite the door was covered with a heavy shade. Behind the chair, set slightly to one side, was a table holding a slide projector. "Have a seat," Principal Davies said. I sat. He reached under the arm of the chair and fastened a leather strap around my wrist. A wire ran from the strap. I could feel bare metal pressing against my skin. "Now, Martin, we're going to play a little game. I'm going to show you a picture, and you're going to say something nice." "Okie dokie," I said, speaking quickly so my words wouldn't betray the tremble that was spreading through my body. What was going on here? He walked behind me. I heard a click and the lights went off. This is kind of creepy. Let's see. Just as my eyes got used to the darkness, he flashed a slide on the screen. I blinked a couple of times, then focused on the picture. It was a fat kid. I guess Principal Davies expected me to say something rotten. "Nice kid," I said. "I'll bet he listens to his mother and cleans off his plate at every meal." There was no comment from behind me. Click, swish. The slide changed. A baby. "Cute," I said. Click, swish. An old man. "Looks like a nice guy, probably somebody's grandfather." Click, swish. A teacher standing in front of a blackboard. "Nice posture," I said, and excellent handwriting. After a couple dozen slides, curiosity won out over fear. I had to find out what would happen if I said the wrong thing. I figured it wouldn't hurt to try once. I'd noticed that every 4th or 5th slide looked like a teacher. The next one came up. I said, "Wow, what a dork." A jolt shot through my arm. I tried to jerk away, but the strap held my arm down. It only lasted for an instant. Afterward, I realized the shock hadn't really hurt. Even so, I didn't like the way it felt at all. I'm pretty sure this method would be illegal. It's not corporal punishment. It's actually a torture method. Behind me, Principal Davies remained silent. He changed the slide. For the rest of the hour, I made sure not to say anything bad. "Well," the principal said when he unstrapped me, "I believe we made some progress." "That would be a first for you, wouldn't it?" I asked. As the words left my mouth, I braced for another shock. Then I realized the strap was off. Principal Davies glared at me, but then shifted back to that dangerous smile. "I'll see you here tomorrow," he said. I headed for the door and got another shock. "By the way," Principal Davies said, "it's less than a month since you arrived, but your teachers didn't see any point in waiting, so we held your review this afternoon. It didn't take long." "What?" I spun back around. "Needless to say, you didn't pass." But as the memories of the day flashed through my mind, I realized there was nothing I could say. I'd run wild, and now they were getting back at me. Still, it wasn't fair that they'd had the review early. You didn't even give me a chance to tell my side. "Surely you don't have any illusions about your behavior," he said. "You couldn't possibly believe you would ever be fit for a normal classroom." He turned away from me and started fiddling with the slide projector. I went back to the third floor. I guess my legs were weak from an hour of tension. I stumbled twice on the steps. Torchy and Cheater left the room when I came in. Fine. I didn't need them. I skipped dinner. There was no way I was going to sit there with everyone staring at me, wondering what had happened. I'm sure the whole school knew I'd been taken away by Principal Davies. That night, I dreamed I was being dragged to the electric chair. I couldn't remember who I murdered. The next day, I had lunch with Trash again. After class, I was escorted back to the chair. This time, I didn't get zapped. Principal Davies seemed disappointed. The day after that, I tried to start a conversation with Trash at lunch. "So where are you from?" I asked him. This was just wonderful. Here I was, trying to get to know one of the school's biggest losers. What was I going to do next? Shine Mr. Larhorn's shoes? Take Ms. Crenshaw out for dinner and dancing? Write love poems to Ms. Nomad? Maybe volunteer to help clean up the tables after lunch. I was quickly spiraling down to the bottom of the fish tank we called Edgeview, hovering right above the gravel where all the losers waited, living in the midst of rotting food and wasted products. Anyone who's ever taken a good look at a fish tank knows that the bottom is a pretty crappy place. "West Hanover," Trash said, naming a small town about 10 miles from Edgeview. "I'm from Spencer," I told him. Great. I was having an actual conversation with someone who threw silverware for fun and tore up magazines in his spare time. Maybe he could teach me how to smash plates. Trash didn't respond. I guess that was about as much conversation as he wanted. I wondered whether I should try again, but something happened before I had a chance to decide. As Trash reached for his fork, it flew away from his tray. He didn't throw it. He didn't smack it or flip it into the air. I swear he didn't touch it. The fork moved by itself. Why I like being me. Dominic, Lucky, Calabrese. Hey, what's not to like? I'm a fun guy. And I'm very generous to my friends, so they like me too. In the name of science. Trash's fork shot a foot in the air, then fell and hit the floor of the table. It bounced from the table and clattered to the floor. As far as I could tell, nobody paid attention to the slight tinkle the cheap piece of metal made. They were used to Trash throwing stuff, but he hadn't thrown it. For a stunned moment, I felt like a little kid watching his first magic show. A rush of excitement hit me with the force of an ocean wave. "Telekinesis!" I shouted, leaping from my chair. I couldn't believe that I'd missed the obvious explanation for so long. Trash was telekinetic. He could move stuff with his mind. He might not have any control over what he was doing, but he definitely had the power. "What'd you say?" he asked. I said that. I stopped as images flooded back, angry faces of former friends, reminding me what had happened when I told Torchy, Cheater, and Flinch about their powers. Not only had they refused to believe me, they turned against me. Trash wasn't my friend. He was just someone I'd shared a table with for 3 days. But I didn't want another enemy. I didn't want to cut myself off from the last human contact that was pathetic. I couldn't believe how low I was sinking. What he asked again? Nothing. I sat back down and finished my lunch. As the cafeteria cleared, I stayed in my seat and tried to make sense of everything I'd seen. My discovery of Trash's telekinesis meant there were 4 kids at Edgeview with psychic powers. Torchy, Flinch, Cheater, and Trash. Were there others? Lucky was always finding things. Was he lucky, or was something more going on? I didn't know, but I needed to find out. I grabbed a notebook and started listing all the kids I could think of who might have psychic powers. I decided that I'd write down absolutely anything I'd seen that was strange or unusual. I figured I'd keep notes. I might discover some patterns. None of this would have been necessary if Cheater had cooperated. "One experiment," I muttered, slamming my fist on the table. "One stupid experiment. That's all I needed. If they'd just agreed to that, everything would have been fine." "What's up, Martin?" The voice caught me by surprise. I shut the notebook and looked up at Mr. Briggs. "What do you care?" I heard you all spent a whole 10 seconds deciding my fate at your last meeting. I would have liked to take more time, but I don't think the results would have been any different. He shook his head and laughed. I'll say this, you've certainly made an impression at IDFU. You think this is funny? Sorry, no, I didn't mean to laugh. Look, we're trying to do what's best for you, honest. Mr. Briggs walked to the other side of the table, pulled out a chair, turned it around backward, and plopped down. The knight in armor on his Rugter's t-shirt peered over the back of the chair. I'd have been happy to run him through with a lance if I'd had one. Did I just hear you say my favorite word? I stared at him. I didn't have a clue what he was talking about. Obviously, he wanted to change the subject. He didn't have the guts to talk about my review. Face to face, they were all cowards. Honest. Experiment, he said. I didn't answer. Well, maybe I heard wrong. He stood up. If you do happen to run an experiment, let me know how it goes. I'd be interested in your findings. More than you'd believe, I thought as I watched him leave. When he reached the hallway, he turned back and said, Better get going or you'll be late for class. Then you'll be in big trouble.